So question number 2 is more like what problem in geometry or formal geometry. It says the vertical angle of an isosceles triangle is 58. So the big question here first of all is we need to draw what an isosceles triangle typically will look like. And then we need to understand what is the vertical angle. The vertical angle of any isosceles, this is the vertical angle. This is the angle we call the vertical angle of an isosceles triangle. These angles are called the base angles. And that's why we say that for an isosceles triangle, the base angles are what? Equal, right? So in this narrative, we will have that it said the vertical angle is what? 58 degrees. So that's 58 degrees. And we are told that calculate the size of one of the base angles. So for an isosceles triangle, we have the vertical angle and the base angle. So we will call them A. If this is A, this will also be A. Why? Because both angles are what? Equal. So we say using notations as in diagram. I've already drawn this diagram, so I don't need to overly tell my examiner anything. They've told me it's an isosceles triangle, and I have a diagram showing the direct interpretation of that. So I go straight ahead. I'll tell him A plus A is equal to 58. So A plus 58 rather will be equal to 180 degrees. What's the reason for that? I'm writing the reasons here because I don't have enough space there. And that'll be what? Base angles of isos triangle. That's how you write that in shorthand. Base angles of what? Isos triangle. So with that, I'll have that this is what? 2a plus 58 equal to 180 degrees. Now, there's a concept I developed and I use very often. These are all even numbers. So I can divide through by 2. I'll have a plus 29 equal to what? 90 degrees. A good mathematician must always be flexible. You must be flexible. Don't tie yourself to a particular method because more often than not, in some examination setup, that method may not work out. So you have A equal to 90 minus what? 29. And A will be equal to what? 61, if I did my arithmetic right. So A will be equal to what? 61. And that solves that question. Okay, so we go to question number 3. And in question number 3, we are told that one angle of a parallelogram. So, you see, for questions like this, always try to read the question. And once you can get the central theme of the question, produce your diagram. I'm told it's a parallelogram. So I'm going to do something like this. That's the first thing I do. Trying to convert the thought to, and I'll just call here 110. So one angle of what? A parallelogram is what? 110 degrees. Say find the other angles. Now, look at this. Because I'm told it's a parallelogram, I would know that this will also be 110. Is that not? Opposite angles of a parallelogram are equal. So that leads me to look for this angle. So just by way of working, I'll say what? A, B, and what? C. So I'll start by saying using notations as in diagram. You're going to see the importance of these concepts when we come into formal geometry. Especially in areas in geometry where you need to write so much. This concept is very, very easy for you to use. Now, so 110 plus C is equal to 180 degrees. 110 plus C is equal to 180 degrees. Why is that? Allied angles. Allied angles are what? Supplementary. So that means that C will be 180 minus 110, and that will simply be what? 70 degrees. Now, with that same token, I can say that C plus B is equal to 180 degrees. What's the reason? Allied angles too. Allied angles. Because a parallelogram, if I'm considering these two angles, this is parallel to this, and this line becomes a transversal. If I'm considering these two angles, because a parallelogram, these are the lines that are parallel, and this becomes a transversal. So you need to take note of that. So I know that that's 70 plus B will be equal to what? 180 degrees, which means that B will be equal to 180 minus 70, and B will be equal to what? 110 degrees. So we know that C is equal to 70 degrees and B is equal to 110. In that same token, I can say that C is equal to A. What's the reason? Opposite angles of palm. Opposite angles of palm. That's the short form for parallelogram. Parallelogram is written as PARM, P-A-R-O-M. So opposite angles of parallelogram is known to be equal. So I can say that A is equal to C, and that will be equal to what? 70 degrees. And that clears out that problem. Okay, we have an interesting diagram. I'm going to draw it. Question 4. Let's draw the diagram first, and then we'll try to interpret what the diagram. I have a point here, and I'm told that all these lines are equal, and I'm naming it A, B, and C with this point called D, and this angle here is what? 108 degrees. All right, so we are told that in the diagram AD is equal to BD and is equal to CD, and angle BDC is equal to 108. Calculate the angles of the triangle. Now, what are the angles of the triangle? The angles of the triangle, angles of the triangle ABC. The angles of the triangle will be this. That's this one angle of the triangle. This is another angle of the triangle. This is another angle of the triangle. So you will see why this my concept of notations in diagram becomes very useful. So what I will do is this. What I'm going to do is going to be this. I will call here small letter X, call here small letter Y, and call here small letter Z. Then I'll call here small letter U, I'll call here small letter V, that's V. Now I'll call here small letter, let me say small letter C, I'll call here small letter E, I'll call here small letter F. So I've named the figure now. Now I'm going to break this diagram will require a lot of work. So this is X, please. I'm going to break this triangle now. If you look at it closely, you have three different triangles. You have what? Three different triangles. Angle A is made up of E and X. Angle C is made up of V and Y. Angle B is made up of C and what? U. So I'm going to break this diagram now, and I'm going to start with this one that I have a bit of information about. Okay, now I know this angle. This angle is what? 108. Is that not? 108. So I'll start with that. I will say that what? U for triangle BCD, or BCD, I'm going to have what? U plus V plus 108 equal to 180 degrees. And what's the reason for that? Angle sum of triangle. That's how I write it. The angle sum of what? Triangle. But take note of something. Triangle BCD is isos. It's isos triangle. It's an isosceles triangle. So because of that, it means that U will be equal to what? V. Base angles of what? Isos triangle. So U is equal to V. So I can use any one of them. So I can come here and say what? U plus 108 will be equal to 180. Meaning that what? 2U will be equal to 180 minus 108. What does that give you? 2U will be equal to 72, and U will be equal to what? 36 degrees. So I know that this is 36. I know that this is what? 36 degrees. All right, there's also something you need to take note of when you're using solving questions in formal geometry. Sometimes you may start off with a method and discover that that method may not necessarily help you. That method may not necessarily do what? Help you. Now, something else I can now do here, because I've gotten this angle, but I'm still going to have a challenge to see how I'm going to connect these angles to this part of the figure. So what I'm going to do now is this. I'm going to make a minor adjustment. I'm going to drop a line down. So if I drop that line down, this becomes what? 90 degrees. Are we watching? This becomes 90 degrees. This becomes 90 degrees. The whole of this angle is still 108. But this 90 degrees plus V will help me get what? Z. Because Z is crucial for me to get X and Y. Z is crucial for me to get X and Y. So what I'm going to do now be U is equal to 36. I've gotten that. So I'll come to my diagram. It means that VU is equal to V and it's equal to 36 degrees. So now I'll come to my diagram now. What do I do? With this adjustment I made on my diagram now, it means that 90 plus V will be equal to Z. 90 is a right angle triangle plus V is equal to what? Z. What is the reason for that? Exterior angle of what? Triangle. Concept we have tried quite earlier. The exterior angle of the triangle. So with that, I can say that Z will be equal to what? 90 plus 36. And that will mean 126 degrees. Now this 126 degrees I've gotten here. If I get 126 degrees here, it means that technically this becomes what? 54. That's what it will mean. But that's not what I'm looking at now. So Z is equal to 126 what? 126 what? Degrees. So with that, I can get X, I can get what? Y. So look at that. It means that X plus Y will plus what? Maybe we should start by saying in triangle what? ADC. ADC. In triangle ADC, I will have that what? X plus Y plus Z is equal to 180 degrees. What's the reason for that? Angle sum of triangle. The angle sum of triangle will give me that. Now, you also recall that what? X is equal to Y. Why is X equal to Y? Base angles of what? Isos triangle. The base angles of what? Isos triangle. So with that, I'll be able to get X and Y. So let's continue that here. Or maybe we'll clean this part off since we've gotten what U and V are. So with this, we know that X plus, let's say X again, plus Y, X plus Z, sorry about that, will be equal to 180. What is Z? We got Z to be what? 126. So it means that 2X plus 126 will be equal to 180. I use my technique. They are all even numbers, so I can divide by 2. So X plus 63, hope I'm right with that, will be equal to 90, meaning that X will be equal to 90 minus 63, and then X will be equal to 27 degrees. Alright, so X will be 27 degrees, it means that X will be equal to Y, will be equal to what? 27 degrees. So you discover that I can just write that here, X is equal to Y is equal to 27 degrees. So I've gotten X and Y, I've gotten U and V. Now, I now need to get, what do you call it? I now need to get this part, this angle. I call this angle F. Was that X? F, I call that. Yes, angle F. So how do I get F? It means that 90 plus u will be equal to this f. What's the reason for that? Exterior angle of what? Triangle. The exterior angle of triangle will give me this angle here. So what do I do next? 90 plus, what is u? 36 is equal to f. So f will be equal to 126 degrees. So I've gotten f to be what? 126 degrees. So if f is equal to 126 degrees, so in triangle what? ABD, we also will discover that because of these markings here, it means that E is equal to C. E is equal to C. And what's the reason? Base angles of what? Isos triangle. So just to so that I can clean the board because I will need more space here, I can say that F is equal to 126 and F is equal to what? Z. So Z is equal to F and is equal to 126 degrees. So that would enable me to clean up so I can have more space to use on the board. So E is equal to C, meaning that what? E plus C plus F will be equal to 180 degrees. What's the reason? Angle sum of triangle. So with that said, I can transfer my information this way to say that E plus E is equal to what? E plus F rather will be equal to 180 degrees. I know F to be 126, so 2E plus 126 will be equal to 180 degrees. And that means that applying that same technique, E plus 63 will be equal to 90, meaning that E will be equal to what? 90 minus 63, and E will be equal to 27 degrees. So E is 27 degrees. So if E is equal to 27 degrees, it means that C will also be what? 27 degrees. So we are through with that aspect of the problem. Now, we need to piece the information together because that's not what we're told to look for. We're told to look for what? Angle A. So angle A is equal to E plus X. What is E? E is what? 27. What is X? 27. So this will be what? 54 degrees. Angle B. What is angle B? C plus U. C plus U. What is C? C is 27. What is U? 36. That will be what? 63 degrees. Now we come to angle C. What is C? Y plus V. Y plus V. What is Y? 27 plus what is V? V is what? 36. So that will give you what? 63 degrees. So you see that with that, we've been able to get all the angles of the triangle. The important thing you must take note of when you're solving problems with informal geometry is that there is no particular method. The method you apply is a function of what you can see. I use the word emphatically, can see. So somebody can actually come to solve this problem without using my method and he will still be very, very correct. So a function of what you can see. And that's why after solving these problems, it's important that you go back to solve them at least 2 times because you need to understand how we're getting these answers. Okay, so that takes care of that question. Let's look at question 5a. Question 5a, the diagram we have is something like this. So I'm going to split my board again. It's something like this. So those are the angles we have. And then we are told to find, this angle we are told to find x. So how you cut this diagram is very, very important. Now, in choosing how you cut, you must cut such that you are having two of the angles complete in one side. You must cut such that you have two of the angles complete on one side. So how does that work? See, I can cut like this. Are you seeing it? And I can cut like this. If I cut in any of these two directions, I'm correct. I must see two angles completely. If I cut in this direction, I'm going to see this and this. If I cut in this direction, I'm going to see this and this. So let's assume I'm cutting like this. It means if I cut like this, I'm seeing these two angles complete. So I'm interested in angle A. I'm interested in angle what? B. A and what? B. So using notations, as a diagram, now watch what's going to happen here. The property of two opposite interior equal to exterior, the exterior angle, is something you must remember. If you look at this diagram very well, I can see that A is equal to what? 25 plus 50. Do you agree? 50 plus 25 will give me this A. So if you can see that, then it means, what's the reason for that? Exterior angle of what? Triangle. Exterior angle of what? Triangle. So that means that A will be equal to 75 degrees. Now, if I get 75 degrees, you can also see that by that same measure, A plus 30 is equal to x. A plus 30 is equal to this x. This triangle has, this exterior angle is related to these opposite interior angles, A and 30. So that will mean that what? Exterior angle of what? Triangle. So by that, we now know that we have gotten A to be what? 75. So it means that 75 plus 30 will be equal to what? X. So x will now be equal to what? 125 degrees. So x will be equal to what? 125 degrees. And that is solved. So you see that you may look at the question to be very difficult, but it's just about understanding what you ought to do. Once you know what to do, it becomes very, very easy. 125. Okay, sorry about that. That's 105. That's interesting. Okay, so that's 105 because 75 plus 30. Thanks for that observation. X will be equal to what? 105. All right, so that takes care of that problem 5E, and then we can go ahead to look at 5B. So how do we draw 5B? Look at it. It's more like a 1, 2, 3, 4. A quadrilateral M, N, 60, 50. All right, so those are the angles we have for that diagram. So how do we solve this one? It's quite simple. We need to get M first because 40 and M are related by a property we call the angles on a straight line. So we have that M plus 40 is equal to 180. Because our model essentially is looking at handling theory questions. A lot of you can perform wonders in OBG, but when it comes to theory, we expect you to tell us the reason why you're doing that. So this is angles on a straight line. Angles on a straight line, and with that, we have that M will be equal to what? 180 minus 40, and M will be equal to what? 140 degrees. So M is equal to 140 degrees. All right, now how do we get N? We know that 50 plus 60 plus M plus n will be equal to 360 degrees. So that is what is called the angle sum of quad. A quadrilateral or a four-sided figure is denoted by the short term quad. Quad is a short form of writing quadrilaterals. Alright, so if that is understood, we go ahead to say 50 plus 60 plus n. What is n? M in this setup is 140 plus n is equal to what? 360. So we add all of this. 50 plus 60 will give me 110. 110 plus 140 will give me 250 if I'm right with that, plus n equal to 360. So n will be equal to 360 minus 250, and n will be equal to what? 110. Hope I'm right with that. That will give me 110 degrees. So let's confirm if what I've done is right. 110 degrees. Alright, so that takes care of that. So we're through with question 1 to 5 of this exercise, and I'm trusting that you'll be able to use this as a basis to attend to other questions in this exercise. Okay, so we start with question still on this geometry and mensuration series. We'll start with question 6. And the trick always is to have a very good diagram. Geometry requires you to do a lot of drawing. A lot of drawing is demanded of a student in the matter of geometry. So you need to draw a lot, and as much as possible, try to ensure your diagrams are as large as possible so you can see every detail you need to see, right? So alright, so this is what we have, and we are told to look for angle DGH. 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 That's this angle we are told to look for. So I can call it A. And I'm also told to look for angle BIG. BIG. That's this angle here, and I call that angle what? B. So the first thing we need to do is to recall what the knowledge of the theorems we're already very conversant with. And more like an expo, the theorems you'll likely be working with will be 1. The angles, the interior opposite angles will be equal to the exterior angle. So you watch, you look at it. I'll start by saying, using notations. As in diagram. Using notations as in diagram. So what do I do next? If I look at this diagram, now look at in triangle BDI. Look at BDI, you notice that these two angles are interior opposite to this one. So what do you have? You have that B plus 34, B plus 34 will give you 130 degrees. And what's the reason for that? We say it is what? Exterior angle of what? Triangle. So these two angles will give me this one. So I can easily obtain that B will be equal to 130 minus 34, which will give me I think that should be 96 degrees if I have my maths in order. That will give you 96 degrees. So these two will add up to give me this. So that takes care of that problem. Takes care of B. Now notice that this is option B. I've done option B before doing option A. Nobody will penalize you for that. Sometimes in geometry, the solutions are independent. The answer you're getting from A may not necessarily help you to get your question B. So that's for the first one. But there's something you need to do. It was I who said B is equal to this, so I need to tell my examiner that what? Angle BI, I think that should be BI what? BIG will be equal to B, and that is equal to 96 degrees. It's important that I tell my examiner that I said that B using notations as diagram, so I must, in writing my final answer, go back to put my answer in the way the examiner has expected me to do so. So that takes care of the first question there. So we proceed to look at the second aspect of the question that requires us to look for angle A. To look for what? Angle A. Now, you realize, now the way I solved this for you yesterday, I'm going to use a different method today. Now look at this angle here. Because now, I want to relate, if this angle is A, you realize that this angle here and this angle, they are on a straight line. Is that not? This angle plus this angle, they are on a straight line. So if this is A, this will be what? 180 minus A. If this angle is A, then to get this one, all I need to do is to say what? 180 minus A. Now you discover from here that what? If I add these two angles, I will get B. I see that. I'm going to get what? If I add these two angles, I will get B. This triangle, look at triangle HGHI. These two interior opposite angles are exterior to this one. So, assuming an exam I've solved for B first, I can use the knowledge of my answer from B to attain to A. So I will then say that what? 180. That's the good thing about diagram. Once you've drawn the diagram and your diagram is well labeled, your examiner is duty bound to use what you have in your diagram to mark your script. So this is minus A plus 50 will give me B, exterior angle of what? Triangle. So 180 minus A plus B equal to 180 minus A plus 50 is equal to B. Now, what is B? We got B to be what? 96. Is that not? So that means that 180 plus 50 will be what? 230 minus A will be equal to what? What would that be equal to? 90. I think we got 96. I hope I'm right with that. We got 96. So from here, I know that 230 minus 96 will give me A, meaning that A will be equal to 230 minus 96. So what is that? 230 minus 96. And that should give me something in the amount of 120. Is that? 134. Good. 134 degrees. So this answer will be 134 degrees. Take note. Your reason is crucial when you're solving the problems. You must tell us why you're using a particular idea and what theorem backs the idea you're using. So that's for question 6, and then we'll now proceed to something more in the neighborhood of sum of interior angles, exterior angles, pentagon, polygons, as the case may be.